iCrack fans. Today we're going to open up and take a look at the inside of the iPad Mini Revision 3. The only difference between the iPad Mini 3 and the iPad Mini 2 Retina is that it's slightly thinner and it has the biometric scanner. All the other specs are virtually identical. Here we'll go ahead and open it up. Very tight box. So you can see included in here is your iPad Mini 3, lightning port cable, and a 10-watt USB charger. This is the standard lightning port, not the newer design to flip-flop either way. So let's go ahead and turn this on. As you can see, they kept the power button in the same location with the mute and volume buttons all in the same location, but the new design home button for the biometric scanner. Go through here and send up a fingerprint. Here we have it. Let's boot it up. Nice new field design. You still have the air gap, just like previous designs, between the LCD and the digitizer. So let's go ahead and power this down, and let's open it up and take a look at the insides. Okay, so here we have the heating plate that all our iTechs use to open up iPads. I'm going to take it and heat it for a good 10 minutes on the back side, turn it over, heat it for a good 10 minutes on the front side. This should allow me to remove the screen without any subsequent damage to the device. All right, now that my iPad Mini 3 is nice and warmed up, I'm going to go ahead and open it up. In this instance, I'm going to use two isclacks to grab and lift my screen. So I've had this heating for about 20 minutes. So while continually heating, I am going to slide this off and attach my isclack, one on each corner. And then slowly work and lift my screen up. There it goes, it's starting to lift. So this side is coming up nice. Insert a guitar pick here. Slide this over. this side's coming up. Go ahead and slide that in there. And you can hear all the adhesive releasing. There we go. That's one end up. And then the other end. Nice, easy release. Now I'm going to slowly lift this up and very gently use my spudger here. There we go. Glass came off in one nice, clean, almost no residue left behind. All my adhesive pretty much stayed intact. Looking at this here, get my heater out of the way. We still have the magnets from before for the smart cover on there, but as we can see here, we have the new biometric scanner with connection down here, and it looks like the home button bracket is completely covered in some kind of epoxy. So we'll go ahead and let this cool down for a few minutes, and then we'll get the LCD lifted, take a look underneath, and see how many screws we have in the thermal plate. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove the 4 screws holding the LCD. So I've laid the digitizer back up, and I'm going to remove the foam pads here at the bottom. Remove both the bottom LCD screws. Move the foam pad located up at the top. And remove those 2 LCD screws. And just like the iPad mini Retina 2, the upper corner here is the longest of all the 4 screws. So we're looking, and we still have the same EMI tapes at the bottom of the LCD. So those are going to have to be peeled up. These seem to be coming off much easier than the earlier versions of the iPad mini. Now that those are up, we'll go ahead and lift our LCD up, and it looks like it's still held in with the same type of adhesive as the previous ones down the sides of the LCD. There we go. Now the LCD is free. Yep, not as much as adhesive as the previous versions on the back side of the LCD, so it came up fairly easy. So I'm going to lay this over. And looking at the thermal plate here, there appears to be the same amount of screws as the Mini 2. Actually, it's less. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total screws. Let's go ahead and pull these off. So we have 3 here on the right side and 4 over here on the left side. Well, so far from what I'm seeing on a repairability, this actually seems to be a bit easier than the iPad Mini 2 Retina, and definitely much easier than the first generation. So let's go ahead and remove this thermal plate here. Okay, so we're seeing a similar layout to the second generation. We've got our headphone jack, the front-facing camera, rear camera, similar cable, but it looks like much of the components of the logic board has been moved down to just this little area here. Then we have our EMI shield here, which now has 4 screws versus the previous few versions that had 3 screws. So let's go ahead and remove the shield and let's get our battery disconnected. You always want to remove the battery, disconnect the battery from the logic board before you remove anything else on any of the iPad minis. They're extremely sensitive to damaging the backlight filter if the LCD is connected or disconnected while the battery is connected to the logic board. Okay, so we have our shield off. Let's go ahead and disconnect our battery. And never use any metal tools to disconnect your battery. It looks like there's numerous surface mount components up here at the battery connector. So I'm just going to very gently come in and disconnect that. Then we'll disconnect the LCD here, set it aside. And then here at the, oh actually, that was the home button we disconnected first. This is the battery. Then we'll disconnect the digitizer. Let's go ahead and get this off. Very gently peel that up. It's held into the frame with a fair amount of adhesive, just like the previous generations. Just like so. So looking at the digitizer itself, I'm trying not to touch the inside here. We have a very similar makeup as we had in the previous generations, with the exception of the biometric scanner here. A lot more adhesive around the home button flex cable. It's still the same amount of EMI tapes located here. A much larger control board. And, so it appears that the home button flex cable pretty much runs this entire span. Let's look for sure. Yep. Sure appears to. Let's pull these tapes off. which means repair-wise, this entire flex cable is going to have to be moved over. Which you have no choice but to remove all the epoxy and everything here and transfer it over as a solid component. So that's going to make the repair a bit more difficult, and with risk of damaging the home button flex cable here at high. As we know, the fingerprint scanner here is uniquely married to its original logic board. And then I'll lay all this back down. Okay, so I pulled the shield off here and revealed that we have the NAND. We have the same A7 processor as the previous generation. Very similar components. A few changes down at the lower end. Your digitizer and LCD are still in the same area. The battery is also in the same area, but they added the biometric scanner connector right here just above the battery connector. All right, well, I hope you all enjoyed the internal components of the iPad Mini 3. And looking at this, I definitely feel this is much easier to repair than the iPad Mini 2, but definitely far easier than the iPad Mini 1, with the concern of the home button flex cable. That would really make this a very difficult repair, as you have a risk of tearing that. So I hope you look forward to seeing our repair video as soon as parts are available sometime in the near future. And don't forget to visit iCrack.com for all your iPad, iPod, and iPhone repair needs.